a high of 17 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. Long delays on the M25 both ways to the Dartford River crossing. Anti-clockwise it's slow from junction 3 at the M20 to the Dartford Tunnel, and clockwise it's slow from junction 29 at the A127 onto the QE2 bridge, and that was after those two lorries broke down earlier. Long delays on the A40 eastbound from Hillingdon to Perivale after an accident. Two problems on the North Circular Road. Firstly, westbound queues to Neasden after an investigation, and also delays westbound to the Kenninghall interchange, and that's because of an accident where one lane is closed for recovery.
This is LBC.
Are you ready?
Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973. This is LBC. At breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
We'll be aboard the good HMS Queen Elizabeth in just a moment, but let's continue to talk about these problems, and goodness me, a lot of you ringing. So, but £83,000 worth of kit going missing a day, it's hardly surprising. Mark in Rayleigh, what's happened to you, Mark? Good morning. What line are you in?
So we run a flooring shop in Basildon called Apple Flooring, right. And my fitters look after all of their tools. They even take them out their vans at night to put them indoors. No, but it gets worse. You leave them on site and they go missing from site, from a customer's home. You come in the next morning and all your Festool tools are gone. Now, that's an inside job, but nobody owns up to it. The
When
police
you
don't
say
do
an
anything about
inside
it.
job, sorry, what you mean the householder then nicks your kit?
Or the other builders that are working on site.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Now, with one of the brands that we work with, they actually give a 3-year tool insurance free of charge, providing you register your tool when you buy it. And you pay a £50 or £100 excess, which is pretty good. But you're talking thousands of pounds for these tools, wood tools, like £4,000, £6,000 a time to replace them all.
When, in the past, when you've contacted the police, how active have they been towards this?
Very inactive.
Right, they don't care.
Totally negative. They can't cope with the amount of volume of these thefts that happen. And I feel for the people that are in the crafts like wood flooring, plumbing, electrics, all of that. We all spend and invest to work smarter, not harder, to make our lives easier, only for our livelihoods to be destroyed by tow rags, scumbags, whatever you want to call them. And that's it.
And they're nicking from your vans. Mark, I like that idea, it's sort of free replacement if you register it for 3 years. Thank you, Mark. Nigel in Loughton. What line are you in, Nigel?
Well, I'm a general builder, but I do a bit of everything. I've got to start off by saying thank you for raising my blood pressure. My van's been done 5 times, or various vans I've had have been done 5 times.
Right.
Which is £10,000-12,000 of uninsured goods. There's only one person that pays for that, by the way, and that's the customer, because the prices go up. But anyway...
and again, when you've reported the theft of kit, how's the police reaction been?
Well, they just can't be bothered. I've had one occasion I've seen it being done, phoned them and they said, look, there's nothing we can do. On 3 occasions, they've turned up and said, well, there's no point in giving you a crime number because we'll never find the tools and therefore there's no crime. But you can just go on eBay. If one of your assistants looks on eBay for a nail gun, which is a proper trade tool, nobody from the public is ever going to use it. It's a roofer's tool. The last time I looked, there were 1,800 for sale.
1,800 nail gun? Okay, and sorry, I wouldn't... How much would a nail gun cost if you went to Screwfix or Wix or whoever?
£500-600.
And what will they be chopped out on eBay?
Well, anything from £50 upwards. Sometimes it's just a case and batteries, but... Why would you sell a nail gun if you're a trade person?
You'd never sell it
at all.
That's a good point. Of course, you're not going to sell a nail gun because you need it to do that. Nigel, good luck to you. I'm sorry I raised your blood pressure. Peter in Southgate, what's happened to you, Peter? Good morning.
Hello, hi. Good morning. I feel for all these tradesmen. Trust me, I know exactly how you guys feel. I've had my vans in total since being a tradesman 11, 12, maybe 15 times. My van's been broken into.
Oh, my God.
Tools taken. I've physically seen my tools being taken in front of me, and you can't even approach these people. You know, they just look at you and they say, "Don't even think about it." It's very disheartening. One occasion, this is why I called up. I was at a sitting with a customer, and I get a phone call from a random guy. He goes, "Are you Peak Energy, my old company back then?" I'm like, "Yes." He goes, "Well, I'm at a car boot sale in Harlow, and someone is selling tools with your business cards within the tools."
No.
So, obviously, straight away, on the phone to the police.
Yes.
You know, I got this phone call. I rushed down there with my colleague. Police are there already. And my tools sitting there, all on the table.
And what action did the police take, lastly?
They actually held him there until, obviously, we got there. Obviously, they didn't let me interact with the guy.
Okay, but they did take action.
They did take action because, he was physically there at the car boot sale.
Well done on that, because in so many instances, these vile people, because you just remember, not only, of course, is the theft, also you can't work that day and until you can raise the money to buy a replacement kit. Peter, thank you. We'll turn from this subject. We may return to it, 4 minutes to 9. To Portsmouth, where it really is a red-letter day over there. Aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth, along with a flotilla involving other ships, a submarine, helicopters, RAF fast jets, is off on deployment. A 28-week deployment spanning 26,000 nautical miles to Singapore, Korea, Japan and India. My goodness me. All part of global Britain. Here with more details is Defence Secretary Ben Wallace. And I wonder, Secretary of State, if I could ask you first to be the role of a journalist and just give us a rough idea of the size of this vessel, how many football pitches or whatever it might be. Defence Secretary, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. So it's longer than the House of Parliament. It's taller than Nelson's column. And it's 65,000 tonnes, made in 6 United Kingdom yards by 10,000 people. And there are two of them side by side, HMS Prince of Wales and HMS Queen Elizabeth.
As Defence Secretary, your heart must be bursting with pride at what this means to the men and women of our military.
Yes, I mean, because it is the best of British, and it's going to have on its deck F-35 fighters, some part of which every single fighter, including the US fighters, are made in Lancashire, part of the area I represent.
Did someone give you my question? Because I was about to ask you what's the provenance of the aircraft, and you've answered that now, because I was hoping they were all American. But we've got British kit in those as well, have we, Defence Secretary?
Yeah, I think we've got 15-20% of every F-35 is made in Lancashire. And some of the other controls and missiles, etc., are made in the United Kingdom. So it's excellent. And
Here's a question. Look, I like an aircraft carrier as much as the next man, but many would say this is too much money too late. The modern fight is against cybercrime. We don't need battleships. We don't need aircraft carriers. Secretary of State.
We need both. And I can tell you, if people didn't think that, the Chinese are planning to build 5 carrier groups with their navy, and they still perform a very important role. If you think about a carrier, it does a number of functions. First of all, it's an airfield, but it happens to be the most highly protected airfield. It's escorted by anti-ship, by ships that fire anti-ballistic missiles and anti-missiles. It also ships that have anti-submarine hunting, so it's very well protected, and it moves. So it does that. But also, it's a great convener. You know, I'll take this around the world. It's going to have with it a Dutch frigate, US squadrons. It will be able to have other F-35B customers, so potentially like the Italians will be able to fly from this ship if we do things together. And that, by being a great convener, it's our strength. The strength that we have and our adversaries don't is we are alliances. We're NATO, we're 5 powers, defence agreements in the Pacific. We are like-minded states, and that's our real strength. And this is a convener.
Secretary of State, this is part of what you have called, and indeed your boss, the Prime Minister, called Global Britain. What do you want my listeners to understand by those two words, Global Britain? What does it mean?
It means that the world is far more interconnected and global. China and the Pacific are much more important to our lives than they have ever been. And it means we have to be there as well. We can't just sit behind Fortress Britain. We have to be outside around the world and making sure that we are protecting our trade routes, because trade's important for our island nation, protecting our exports, protecting our values. Because if we can't uphold the international rules of the sea, if we can't uphold these things, then what happens is we end up, suffering economically, but also as weakening as our state. And therefore, we are being able to demonstrate through soft power, aid, support, help. We're going to help India today with oxygen compressors and indeed with ventilators, because their medical system is close to overreach. And all of those things. That's what Global Britain is there. You have to be in it to win it. And that's what we're going to do.
Last couple of questions while I have the benefit of you on the line. You may have seen a headline in one of the papers today, outrage as Number 10 rules out urgent inquiry into pandemic. The line coming from Downing Street, there will be a public inquiry, but now is, quotes, not the appropriate time. Secretary of State.
Well, I think that's right. I mean, there will be. We've called for one, obviously, in the outbreak of the original pandemic, and we have always said we will be happy to be part of an inquiry of the handling of the pandemic here in the United Kingdom. But the best time for that is not in the middle of the pandemic. We are still coming out of lockdown step by step, and we'll get it through in that way.
Are we in the middle, Mr. Wallace, or are we hopefully, 20 minutes away from the final whistle?
I think you and I would hope it's the final whistle, but my optimism isn't to get the better of me. Let's take it one step at a time. The risk of getting it wrong, we only have to look at places like India, just getting in the wrong place at the wrong time. We are absolutely, we should be really proud that we are world leaders. 62% of adults today have been vaccinated. And we're going to open today down to age 44. So you'll just qualify now, Nick. You ever get down to there. But at the same time, it doesn't mean to say we throw all caution to the wind and all pile outside into mass gatherings.
I think I was in the same cohort as Ken Clark, Mr. Wallace. But anyway, lastly, or not quite, you mentioned the horrific situation we're witnessing in India. Might that have happened here? Boris Johnson allegedly saying he would rather see bodies pile high in their thousands and order a third lockdown. Does that sound like your boss, Mr. Wallace?
No, it doesn't. And I've known him for many years, more years than most of my colleagues. That's not my boss. My boss feels every difficult decision because he knows about people and he wants life, to be successful for everyone. And it's a really hard job in a pandemic. My boss has delivered those vaccination rates and a steady step out of lockdown, which we're now seeing. Still across the channel in the continent, we're still not seeing that. That's my boss, and he has put his heart and soul into that, and I'm proud to serve as him as the Prime Minister. I'm proud by the outcomes we're delivering.
Enjoy your sea legs later today, and I hope you make land soon. Thank you, Ben Wallace, Secretary of State of Defence, joining us from HMS Queen Elizabeth in Portsmouth. The time, 2 minutes after 9. LBC News, Simon Conway.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 9 o'clock, the government says it's in contact with